Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another edition of our podcast, Workforce Rewired. I'm excited today to have a conversation with Jeff Wise. Jeff is president and CEO of the US National Whitewater Center, which is located just outside of Charlotte. And when you think about innovative adventures. I always think of the US National Whitewater Center. And so I'm really excited, Jeff, that you brought that to our community. And our topic today is really intriguing to me. It's about building culture in a digital world. And when I think about that, it's a little bit of an oxymoron thinking about the environment that you work in on a daily basis, which is getting people outside and unplugged from technology. But you're also running a business. And so imagine that building culture in a digital world has a little different meaning for you.
I'm not sure I know what that means to anybody. And because I think it is specific to everybody's circumstances. And digital is a platform that is critical and it's intermeshed in everything we're doing. So yes, it affects things, but I think the answer is going to always differ for every single entity.
And I think you mentioned it, digital can be a tool, right? Or it could be thought of as a platform or a resource. Somebody having better dashboards that tell them about their business or better software. But there are tools and technology that help enable culture versus eroding culture. In your experience, they are leveraging technology to grow your business. What comes to your mind when you think about that balance of culture and technology?
It's interesting. We were in a meeting yesterday and we were looking at a system that can help basically digitize a great deal of our maintenance related to the HVAC system. And it all made sense on paper, and the team was really excited about it. And we wound up moving forward with it. I think it's going to be a good addition. But one of the things that I've made a mistake or I've had so much experience with is how many times we got enamored with the technology versus really understanding, unless it is helpful or productive in making you better at whatever it is you're doing, don't fall in love with the technology. I think that the best example are the vehicles we drive today. There's something to be said for an old school carburetor. You don't need computers to fix it and so forth. Having said that, no, have the good fortune to drive a new vehicle every once in a while and go, wow, this is nice. So I'm not against the technology by any means, but you have to make sure that it truly is advancing it's net positive, because there's so many times that I catch myself going, I'm not sure this has made me more efficient. And I think you have to just ask that question. But to be honest, most times it's they're bringing the technology for value. It moves the ball forward. But I also will tell you that one of the things we see is, because of the way that they price this technology, it is insidious. They get it in there, you depend on it, and you realize that it's costing you a fortune. It's a transactional basis. And all of a sudden you're looking, going, guys, we have to up our prices because every transaction has digital technology that's redundant behind it. And at some point, we have to be mindful of what it's doing to our cost basis, because the consumer, you have to pass it along. And the consumer is benefiting from some of that ease of the transaction. There's a cost for it, and everything just I catch myself going, make sure that the cost benefit analysis is there. It is alluring to say, oh, that's simpler, but at what cost? And I think just the old guy in me says, yep, I like it, but let's make sure we're really smart about where this leaves us.
Are there certain areas where you found the cost benefit? Is it in your marketing? Is it in your customer segmentation? You mentioned HVAC. Imagine there's a variety of other use cases that you could talk about. Are there any that stand out in your mind that are better ROI?
Wow. I would like to give you an easy answer, and maybe it would be an intelligent answer, so that maybe the struggle. I don't know that I can give you that to say that there are places. I will say that what we do see is the ease of transaction, where they can make that transaction where us as a consumer, we can make that decision and we can make that action of moving forward a little better is attractive on both ends. I'll give you a weird example. I'll give you two weird examples. We all use credit cards, obviously. Couldn't tell you the last time I had cash in my pocket. But I'm going to tell you something. We spent over $1 million last year on credit card fees. So you and I love getting our mileage or our points or whatever, and the credit card companies have gotten us to believe in that and as a consumer. But I spent $1 million on that. That's big money. We charge directly for that? No, we don't have a credit card fee. We've chosen not to for a number of reasons. But all costs get sunk into pricing. And so it all comes back. And I look at it as a consumer and go, my gosh, I'd much rather, I don't want to give you cash. There's a huge convenience associated with that transaction because of that digital basis of it. Now, let me be fair to the credit card companies. They've given me an advantage as the proprietor or the recipient of the cash transaction. Cash handling is expensive. There are certain benefits as the merchant to holding a credit card transaction versus the old school, cash. So now, is it $1 million? I'm going to tell you no. I would gladly, I could do it a lot more efficiently. So what I'm trying to say is, to a lot of us on the consumer end, these conveniences, they've got to get passed through like everything else. At the end of the day, margins have got to hold. We cannot be in business if we're not making enough money to stay in business. And so I think that we need to help everybody remember that there's a cost associated with that. I added digital into we were probably one of the last to do it. It makes you wonder what the heck you were thinking. But we went to handhelds at the dinner table, the dining table, and the restaurants. My gosh, the efficiency that comes with that, both the whitewater and the consumer. And I think we were worried that it takes away some of that personal thing. Once again, we're on the back end of it. It's become an expectation. But I think that gets to my interest in this conversation primarily, and that is great. You've got this lubrication on the transaction, but what have you given up in exchange? And there's a dollar cost to it for all of us. But really the question becomes, are we disconnecting at a personal level? And the answer is yes, but what's that cost and what's the cost benefit of it? So I think that to me is where this issue goes, is you can be a lot more efficient. Be a lot more efficient if I didn't have to see my kids and deal with them, but I don't think I'm being a good parent. They would say otherwise. They'd say the
Yeah.
less would be the better.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point. And when I think about your business, you're about the customer experience, right? That's the ethos of why you all do what you do, is bringing an amazing experience and helping teams build culture. But you mentioned it now, being a parent, and I have to think you employ a lot of young digital natives in your business as part of your workforce. And so, how are they informing the decisions that you're making? Are they recommending solutions? Are they asking for more connections to get away from the screens? How do they inform your business?
Oof. I worry. Manage me here, Cheryl. I know, because I can go off onto some tangents here, and I don't want to take this off script too much. It's a great question. I think the opportunity is, you spend your entire life always as the young person, and you see the world the way you see it as a 22-year-old, a 32, a 42, and now seeing it as a 63. And I think what winds up happening is you get to a certain point where you start going, oh, wow, my experience are these cumulative things, and their experience is different. And they see things differently based on that experience. And I'm the old guy now, and I've never been the old guy. And it's like, oh, okay, it's different. And so you want to be you want to manage that and honor that and say, look, the new things are important and they're critical, but where do they truly advance what's essential and what's important? And I think back on all the things that coaches and parents and my bosses and all these people were telling me, and I wanted to ignore it and I didn't want to agree to it. And I think what I'm always trying to say is, okay, what is really truly essential? What are the truths that we understand that have held up over time? And then the means and methods, which is digital, can flow. And somebody said to me one time a while back, they said social media is changing everything. And I go, it's just different tools. We've had social media. The town water well was social media. It's so media, the media is different, but social interaction and communication across groups, and that's always been there. We just have more, we have a broader, I think, megaphone. And I think that understanding that and respecting that and being real careful with it is the message. And so I personally watch our marketing team, and I'm going to say something that is sacrilegious. I the social media platforms, personally, I abhor them. I have nothing to do with them. You will not find me on even LinkedIn. I'm not on any of it. I think that there is a lot of negative associated with it. However, as a business person, I think it's great. And I go, heck, if others want to spend their time on those platforms, we need to be present on those platforms and we embrace them to the extent that it's appropriate. So it's a really interesting dynamic. I can be talking to a 25-year-old marketing person and I have no stinking clue what they're talking about as it relates to certain digital platforms. I understand in its basic sense, but the technical side of it, I don't. And I worry about it because I'm going, wait a minute, where does that leave me in my ability to do my job? But I also fundamentally do not want to agree to something that personally I go, no, I don't want to engage in that style of communication because I don't believe it. That's my personal belief. Everybody's entitled to do what they want, and I'll take advantage of it. If you're willing to let me show you video and that you'll pay attention to it, great. I just personally don't want to waste my time with it.
So let me ask you this as I resonate with a lot of the comments you made. I think generations matter. And you're in a unique position because you're the CEO of an organization and you have a perspective that is largely informed, call it Gen X, baby boomer cusp there. And you've got a workforce that is in the Gen Y, Gen Z, millennial categories. How do you build connections with that workforce to really move your business forward, but create those real connections where people feel an allegiance to the organization?
It's interesting. It's a great question. I think it goes back to the title of this. It's about culture. What are your fundamentals? What is it that are the rock solid, the basis for what your organization is built upon? And and so for us, whether we talk about it at the brand guidelines, there's part of me that goes, whatever. No, it's real. And I get it. And I want to challenge everything and I want to disagree with everything and push back. But that is our culture. It is to question and push back on everything and then see what holds up. I'm a lawyer by background. I believe in the Socratic method. Put it out there and let's beat it up. And if we can analyze it and it can withstand the test of time, the test of all our energies in examining it, then that is a truth. And it's not about what's popular. It's not about what makes people feel good or makes them happy. I don't give a damn about that anymore. I want to know the truth. And that comes from truly, truly, truly being willing to examine it and get uncomfortable and not just go with what is easy. And that's where the fun is. And it's what our business is built on. Get out of your comfort zone. If you want to sit on the couch, that's your call. But our mantra is get off the couch, get uncomfortable, and go discover something. And so I believe that everything that we push is if you're going to tell me something and you're going to stand by it, then be prepared to get back on your heels and have me come at you and test it. And if it doesn't hold up, then we're going to keep examining. And I think that where's digital fit into that? I think it just gives us another platform to be able to examine things. You and I were talking offline about authenticity. That's what authenticity is. Is it real? Is it a truth? Does it hold up? And I used the other day we were talking about Paris, we were talking about kitchen cabinets for one of our adventure lodges, and I'm over there. We gotta have this granite. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous, but I love it. It's fun. And somebody said, why do you feel that way about a selection that I was advocating for? And I said, because it's timeless.
Mm.
And I kept going back to that. I said, guys, look, we're not chasing trends. That's not what whitewater is. This is about timeless. And I think that if it will withstand the test of time, the human condition, pick whatever it is, then that's something worth investing in. You're not chasing sugar.
Yeah. Well, and I go back to, and I realize like, boy, we're butting up on the end of our time already, and I could sit here and talk all day with you, Jeff. But when I think about the business, and we said it at the beginning, the ethos of the experience that you're creating there and leveraging all of the pieces that we've talked about here, different generations in the workforce, different technology resources that have continued to evolve. If I give you a closing statement here of wrapping all of that up together, when you're building culture in this digital world, what are one or two things that you think are just non-negotiables that all businesses should keep in the forefront of their minds?
Oof. You and I could go for 4 days on that. And you go, are there that many non-negotiables? And the answer, there probably are. Let me tell you, and maybe this is just ask me 4 days from now, maybe it changes because I think there are so many things there. I think the culture that I've come to learn, and I don't think I was there 10 years ago as well, and certainly 20. I think the more that you can build any organization, any group on the premise that it is about the team and not about the individual. I see that all of us come through life thinking it's about what can we do, how do we build value, and how are we accomplishing our goals and objectives. And get it, that's important. That's the way we're going to be as human beings. But once you get to a certain point, you start realizing that there's something bigger than yourself, and you start going, wait a minute, when I can do it with others and we can create the scale and the leverage of an organization. And I always go to a baseball analogy. I cannot win that game by myself. And it's all about me when I'm in Little League. Did I get the hit? The sooner you can get away from that and realize that it is about how do you contribute to the goals and objectives. And if you can contribute in any meaningful way and make that your entire driver, that it's about the team, that's the culture. Because then the big picture is always driving. And I think that pick your term, emotional intelligence, self-actualization, or whatever. But if you can get everybody to really buy in to not making it about yourself, but there is something bigger here for you to selfishly benefit from, you're there. And it took me way too stinking long to figure it out. But good gosh almighty, I love being a part of this team and getting to play with them. And you realize, oh, that's where the joy is. And I think that's the culture that if every organization gets there sooner than I did, the more effective they are.
Well, I didn't coin the term, but it makes me think of the saying, there's no I in team. And I think that's a great wrap up for us on this particular edition of talking about how you build culture in today's digital world. So Thank you so much. This has been an enjoyable conversation with my good colleague here, Jeff Wise, the president and CEO of the US National Whitewater Center. I'm sure we will have another conversation about even more topics in the future. But Jeff, thanks so much for being my guest on today's Workforce Rewired.
Thank you for the invite. It's a pleasure.